Have you ever had the experience where you go online onto the internet and you're searching for some kind of information, and then one link leads you to an article? At the bottom of the article, there's some other articles linked. One of them, it catches your attention, you click on it, it leads you to another article, which leads you to another slideshow. And before you know it, you even forget what it is that you're looking for in the first place. Or have you ever gone onto an instant messaging platform and you have this idea that you want to send a message to someone specific? But when you turn it on, all these other messages come in, and two or three of them catch your attention and you start to reply to them. Then you put your phone aside and then you realize, oh goodness, I didn't send the message which I wanted to send. Or a similar thing can also happen with emails. You want to send an email to a specific person, so you open up your email client or whatever it is you use to send emails, and you see all these other emails there, and then you realize, oh, I have to respond to this and I have to reply to that. And before you know it, you haven't sent the email that you wanted to send in the first place, and maybe you even forget to send it and you only remember later. We live in a world today where a lot of people make a lot of money from our attention. So there are lots of people who are always vying for our attention, and the way they hook it is through curiosity, which is actually a very natural human condition. It's part of who we are. It's part of our desires, to desire to know more, to the desire for knowledge. In fact, one could say it's one of the things that helps to keep us alive. The desire to know is one of the things that keeps us alive, keeps us seeking, keeps us looking for the truth in different situations. No human being desires to be deceived. It's within us to always desire to know that which is, to desire to know the truth. So we have this thing within us called curiosity, this desire for knowledge. But just because of the world in which we live in, we run the risk, the modern person, modern man and woman runs the risk of encountering or suffering from what I like to call intellectual anorexia. So it's like in the world of knowledge, you've got this buffet of information that's like food, and we've been almost conditioned to go from one plate to another, and you just take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a tiny bit of this, and you move on to that because that other thing looks more interesting. And before you know it, you've tasted everything but have not been nourished by anything. So I think one danger which we truly face in the world today is knowing a lot, knowing a little about a lot of things, but not knowing enough about anything. We know a little about a lot of things, but we don't know enough about anything. And another result of that is we could find ourselves in a situation where our mind is always buzzing, dissipated. Our thoughts are moving from one topic to another, to another, to another. And it's really difficult to just settle on one direct line of thought, one straight line of thinking, one topic, to go down, to delve deep into it, and to get to the core and the heart of it. We're always at the surface level. If our mind could be compared to a field, for instance, it could be like a field that is pockmarked with lots of little ditches here and there, lots of little holes, because people were prospecting for oil, but no one really dug deep enough to get to the oil, and always gave up after just one or two little digs. So like just go really, really short, really, really shallow, and without really getting to the oil. So I do feel that that's something which, just because of the internet and the world in which we live, computers, information technology, it's something that I think has become a real issue in the world today. So if you feel that it is an issue, if you do find that sometimes your mind is buzzing from one thing to another, you can't really calm it down, you feel like you can't really get to the depth of things. And I think another big problem with this shallowness that is created by the world of technology in which we live in is it makes it really difficult to focus and to pay attention to the things to which we're supposed to be paying attention to. So for instance, like conversations with our friends or our loved ones, the number of times I myself have been guilty of, you're talking to someone and they're telling you what's on their mind, and then your phone is buzzing in your pocket or beside you on the table, and it's going off, and that little notification light is blinking, constantly tearing up your attention, dividing your mind between different things. I do think this is a problem, because at the end of the day, what it results in is it stops us, it prevents us, it puts a block between ourselves and what it is that we really want, which is knowledge. So knowledge always requires a certain effort, a certain attention, a certain continuous struggle to achieve it. And the less we develop this ability to work at being able to achieve knowledge, the less fit we become for being able to actually achieve it. An example that comes to mind is physical fitness. You know, for instance, if you're out of shape, right, and then you have to climb a flight of stairs, when you get to the top, you'll be panting, you'll be heaving, you'll be trying to catch your breath. And someone who's completely out of shape would never even be able to get to the top of those stairs and would need a lift or something to take them to the top. Or if you're climbing a mountain, someone who's completely out of shape will never be able to scale to the top of a mountain and enjoy the knowledge of what it looks like, what the world looks like from that peak, from that elevation. It's completely blocked out to them. It's the same thing with this mental dissipation, mental shallowness. If we don't develop that fitness of being able to stick with something, to go deep into one specific area of knowledge and plumb its depths and discover the oil, or go to the very peak of it and be able to see that knowledge, to see that vision that's waiting for us there, then we'll constantly be blind. We'll constantly run around knowing a little about a lot of things, but never getting to the stage where we know enough to feel satisfied, to experience some level of fulfillment in our knowledge about a specific topic. And I think that's why our mind would then tend to jump around, because it's always seeking some kind of fulfillment in this. Oh, no fulfillment there. Okay, that. Okay, no fulfillment there. Okay, that. No fulfillment there. So this dissipation, this shallowness can be avoided through a specific mental habit or virtue. The name for this virtue is, say it with me, studiousness. Studiousness. Okay, that's just the name that's given to how we learn to control our desire for knowledge and how to mold it and how to control our curiosity. The technical term for it is studiousness. I say technical because the people who wrote about this control of our desires, the ethical philosophers, called it studiousness. And my main reference for this is a philosopher by the name of Saint Thomas Aquinas, who lived in the Middle Ages. And if you ever get a chance to read some of his writings, first of all, it requires studiousness to even be able to go into them, because he is really, really deep. But I have seldom found someone who explored all of these mental habits and all of these virtues the way he did, so systematically and in such a deep and thorough way, and with so much insight. It's incredible. Let me just read you what he says about studiousness. So first he starts by quoting a Catholic saint, Augustine. Augustine says, "We are forbidden to be curious, and this is a great gift that temperance or self-control gives us." Now, going back to this is St. Thomas now commenting on this. He says, "Now, curiosity is prevented by moderate studiousness. Therefore, studiousness is a part of self-control." He goes on to say, "As stated above, it belongs to self-control to moderate the movements of our desires, lest they tend excessively to that which is desired naturally, in this case, knowledge. Because we have a desire for knowledge, we can tend excessively to that desire for knowledge, which is called curiosity." Now, just as in respect to his physical nature, man naturally desires the pleasures of food and sex, so in respect to his soul, he naturally desires to know something. Thus, the philosopher, when St. Thomas Aquinas says the philosopher, he's speaking about Aristotle. Thus, the philosopher Aristotle, who was a Greek philosopher, observes at the beginning of his book Metaphysics, all men have a natural desire for knowledge. The moderation of this desire, this natural desire for knowledge, pertains to the virtue of studiousness. Wherefore it follows that studiousness is a potential part of self-control. Moreover, it is comprised under modesty for the reason given. Okay, then he goes on to speak more about this, which we won't go into because it gets really deep. If you get an opportunity to read the book is called the Summa Theologiae of St. Thomas Aquinas. You'll have to, yeah, it takes It takes some effort to read it, but it's worth it. And I wouldn't recommend that you read it in one go. It's very difficult. You have to sort of dip in and dip out, stand up, take a walk, take a week between the different parts, because he gets really deep, he gets really complex, but the clarity of thinking is absolutely incredible. So how can one practice this mental habit of self-control, of controlling our curiosity, controlling our thirst for knowledge, so that we can open up the gates for deeper knowledge of the things which we are supposed to know about? What are some of the tips and tricks? Just one thing which I found really helps is learning to get a hold of technology, because the technological gadgets and the information available to us and the internet is like it's like a tsunami. It's like a wave that comes at us, and I don't know if we've ever been prepared. I don't know if kids in school nowadays are being prepared for it. I don't know. But all I know is that for most of us, it just sort of happened, and now we have to deal with it. We have to cope with it. We have to find a way to solve this, so that we can always open up the gates and the doors for us to achieve a deeper, more insightful knowledge of things which are worth knowing. So the first thing is learning to control our phones. Our phones. I don't have my phone here with me, I would have held it up. But one app which I found really, really helpful, it's on Android. I don't know if it's on iOS. It's on Android platforms. It's called Off Time. What Off Time does is it automatically blocks certain apps on your phone for certain durations of time. I only use it to block off my instant messaging platforms. So when I'm supposed to be working, I turn off my instant messaging platforms. Now, specifically, I use WhatsApp. So I've got WhatsApp personal and WhatsApp business. Now, with WhatsApp business, because I've got 2 SIM cards in my phone, that's the number which I give to my employers at work. And I tell them, listen, if you need to send me a message on WhatsApp, use my business line, only that. But WhatsApp personal, that's only for the end of the day or only for the weekends, but not in the middle of the day. I do not go into that platform. And one thing that really helps me to control my desire to turn that thing on, and the same thing applies to Facebook messaging and all social media platforms actually, is this off time application. Something similar exists on for computers, and I use a Mac. And on the Mac, I found an app called, there are 2 apps. One is called Self Control, and the other is called Focus. They do the same thing, but with websites and apps on your actual laptop. So for instance, I work as a writer, and one of the big things for me as a writer is like when I get tired in the middle of a scene or finished a scene and I think, oh gosh, I need to take a break. I just need 5 minutes. I just need 5 minutes. It's so easy to go on Google or on Reddit or any of these other, just get dissipated. And before I know it, 3 minutes became 5 minutes, became 8 minutes, became 10 minutes, became 15 minutes. So one thing that I found really helpful is to have these apps such as Focus and Self Control, which completely turn off. So even when I want to take a break, I can't. It's not even that I don't want to, I cannot. I'm physically blocked from taking a break on the internet. I found that to be really helpful. Maybe that can help you also. I'm sure there are a number of Windows apps that can do the same thing, because from my experience, if there's an app that can do it on the Mac, there are 3 apps that can do it on Windows. So I'm sure there's something that can also help with that. The third thing which I've found is when it comes to looking for information, researching, Googling things, I found it's really helpful to place limits in 2 respects: limits in time and limits in space. What do I mean by limits in time? It's really helpful to give yourself a time limit and say, for the next 15 minutes only, I'm going to look for this information. And I'll set a timer. And once the timer is done, wherever I have gotten to in my search or my quest for this bit of knowledge, that's it. It's over. I'm not looking anymore. I'm done. So that's setting a limit in time. Setting a limit in space is having a checklist of saying, I am going to look for this and for that and for that, and writing them down, maybe on a sticky note or something beside yourself, so that when you're on Google or whichever search engine you use, you can keep referring and say, this is what I'm looking for. This is specifically what I'm looking for. This also helps in terms of doing a brain dump, because many times I find when I'm working, an idea comes to me and I think to myself, oh, I should Google how to do this, and oh, I should look for how to do that, and this bit of information. And because I've blocked off all search engines, as I'm working, it forces me to make a note and say, later on, Google this, Google that, look for this, look for that, look for this, look for that. 90% of the times, when I do get to that opportunity, when I want to look for this information, I find that I didn't really need to know it. It's not even relevant anymore. Okay, now some of it, maybe 10% is still relevant, but at least more than half, I just delete and like, nope, don't need to know that, don't need to know that, don't need this, fix that, found the solution to that just as I was working. Many times the solutions actually was just in the back of my mind, and I just needed to give it a little bit of time and a little bit of patience for it to come out. A fourth thing which you can do is a social media detox. Just from time to time. I'm not saying delete your social media accounts. I'm just saying just take a break from them for like a week or 2 weeks. That's it. It really helps in terms of developing this it's detox. You get rid of this desire to always go and scroll through and see, oh, what are people doing? Oh, what's happening with this guys and those guys, etc. Now you could say, no, but this is how I keep up with my friends and my family. That's cool. Could be how you do it. But I'm just saying, just for 1 week, it's worth it, because you might just find yourself forced into a situation where you now have to call someone and ask them, hey, what's new with you? What's happening in your world nowadays? Or what have you been doing during the last month or so? And you can far more fruitful to have a conversation with someone, because now you're not looking at their social media updates and you've been forced to make a phone call. It's a much more worthwhile use of your time, effort, and attention. And then the fifth, now this is for those who dare, is maybe that came out wrong, but it's to actually, I don't like saying this, but I'll say it anyway. Read difficult books. Read difficult books. I don't saying don't. I'm not speaking about YouTube videos and documentaries. And I know there are people who say, no, I don't read. I can't read. Trust me, read great and difficult books. I mean, books such as the Summa Theologica by St. Thomas Aquinas, books such as the Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. Read or Faust, the play, or Shakespeare's plays. Just read great and difficult works of literature, fiction and nonfiction. The reason why I say they should be difficult is because you will force you. It's like prospecting for oil. The reason why these books are great and are classics and have been classics and are still appreciated today is because they've got something to say that speaks to the world, to human nature and the world in general, as it is and as it always will be. That's why it's a classic. It's always relevant. There's a message within it that will resonate for human beings 300 years ago and 300 years hence. That's why it's a classic. These books are not easy to read. They're not easily accessible from a mental perspective. It's like going up a flight of stairs when you're completely unfit. And the way to develop fitness to climb up stairs or climb up mountains is by doing it over and over and over again. You start with little stints, little bits of it. You don't take it all at one go, but you start. You do a few steps now, you do a few more steps the next day, and a few more steps the next day. And before you know it, you can climb up a flight of stairs, you can sprint up a flight of stairs, you can run suicides up and down a flight of stairs, you can climb a mountain. But the great books they develop this mental fitness for us to be able to go deep into a specific subject, a specific topic that is difficult, and as a result of that, to start to understand the great insights that these books contain. But that's a fantastic way in which to develop this habit of studiousness. So, in summary, just to recap, remember, get some apps that can assist you on your phone, some apps that can assist you on your computer or your laptop. Write down what it is that you want to search for before you start searching. Set yourself a time limit in terms of what it is that you want to look for. Go on a social media detox, just 1 or 2 weeks, stay away from social media. And if you want to reach out to friends and family, call them. It's a beautiful thing to hear someone's voice on the other side of a phone. And finally, read great books. That step five is an optional one. I know that many people will roll their eyes and be like, no, I don't read. Okay, cool, cool. I'm just saying it's an invitation. Feel free, do it, don't do it. Just putting it out there. So, in summary, if you'd like to have a calm and a settled mind, and to be able to focus on your work or your study for an extended period of time and arrive at really deep insights that give you some level of fulfillment as you're working or you're studying because you feel you've developed yourself somehow, or if you want to sit down with a loved one or a friend and be able to pay attention to them, give them the most valuable gift you can give them, which is the gift of your attention and your focus and your concentration, then accept this invitation to develop the habit of studiousness.